Okay, students, I'm just going to show you real quick the 5 ways of proving triangles congruent. The drawing of each type. There's your congruent. Okay, so first I'm going to list off, I'll just go and do it as I go here. SSS, side, side, side. So if I have three sides, three pairs of corresponding sides that are congruent to each other, then they're congruent by SSS. There's SSS. Okay, number 2. Let's go with SAS. Just on the page here. Okay, SAS, side, angle, side. That means the angle must be right between the two sides. Side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. Now, the angles must be congruent. So they must have one arc and one arc, for example, and the sides, corresponding sides, must be congruent. So that's one arc to one arc and two arcs to two arcs. That's an example of side, angle, side. Now, I want to show one that's not side, angle, side, but appears to be. If I add on that third piece, that third hash mark there, now I only have an S being congruent to one hash marks each, and the A. So I really only have an SA. Even though they're both set up as SAS, these two S's are not the same because I have 2 hash marks versus 3 hash marks. So that's something just to be aware of that would not work for SAS. All right, next. We'll go angle, side, angle. Come on, extend. There we go. Extend. Angle, side, angle. That means the side must be in between the two angles. Okay. Draw 2 angles. Angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle. Again, they must have the same number of arcs. One arc to one arc, 2 arcs to 2 arcs, and 1 hash mark to 1 hash mark. If any of those are different, does not work. And notice, so angle, side, angle. Okay, that's what it looks like. You got to memorize these. It should not be hard to figure out. Next one, AAS, angle, angle, side. This is the tricky one. Angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Okay, so notice the side is not in between the angles. That would be ASA. The side is next to one of the angles. Now, the key on this, why it's a tricky one, it must be next to the same angle, corresponding pair of angles. So notice this is next to the 2 arcs. This corresponding side is next to the 2 arcs. So that is AAS. Here's an example of one that's not AAS. So if I go ahead and take this hash mark off, okay, and instead I put it down here, I still have 1 hash mark and 1 hash mark, but this is no longer AAS because this S is next to the single hash mark. This single hash mark side is next to the 2 arcs. So they're not next to the same angle. They're next to different angles. So this is not AAS. Okay, it would have been back. Oops. It would have had to been back over here like I had to begin with. Now that same corresponding side is next to the 2 arcs. Now that is AAS again. Okay, and that's why I got 4, right? Yes, last one is HL. HL stands for hypotenuse leg. This is only in right triangles. Okay. Hypotenuse has got to be congruent, and 1 pair of the legs must be congruent. So it must be in a right triangle. That does not mean all right triangles are HL. It just means it must be in a right triangle. So there's my right triangle. The hypotenuses must be congruent, and one pair of legs. Doesn't matter which pair. Okay, there's the HL. So if you notice on all three of these, or I mean all five of these, they all have three pieces, corresponding pieces that are congruent. So even though you only see the two letters of HL, hypotenuse leg, don't forget you got the right angle that must be in both of them. So that's really three pieces there. And of course, it's easy to see that there's three pieces in the other one because they have three letters for each of those ones. Okay, so there's an example of each of the types of ways that you need to have memorized. You need to have all these memorized. So when you recognize it on your quiz or test, you know what to do to identify it correctly. Okay. Side note, I'll make this a little bit longer. Let me bring up some ways where you'd have to come up with your own piece, free piece on your own. Let's say I have this triangle and they give me this is congruent to this piece is congruent to this piece. Okay, and they ask, are these two triangles congruent? Well, I need to be able to recognize that I can get the reflexive property of congruence on my own. And I must mark that on the quiz as well. So now I do have AAS for my setup. So that's one piece, one way of getting a piece on your own. One of your free pieces is reflexive property of congruence when they share a side or an angle. The other way is, or there's two more ways. I'm going to put all three of them here. So that's one way, one free piece. Reflexive property of congruence. Okay, and that's either a shared side or angle. Okay, so an example of a shared angle would be if I have overlapping triangles, for example. Those two triangles, the A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so angle A is in both angle ABC and angle ADE. So this is congruent to itself. So there's also reflexive property. Okay, or I said it could be a shared side or angle. So here's my shared side, and here's my shared angle right there. Okay, just so you know that. The other free piece, second free piece you can get is the vertical angle theorem. Okay, so an example of that. Let's say I have these two triangles. They give me this one, and they give me this and this. Well, I should be able to automatically recognize I have vertical angles. We know vertical angles are congruent. We've been doing it all year. So I put my two arcs there because one arc's already been used, and now I have AAS. Okay, so that's your second one that you can get free is a vertical angle. And the last one you can get free, come on, is when you have parallel lines cut by a transversal. Then you get alternate interior angles theorem, AIA. That we've already gone over. So example of that. Let's do this. You see, that's parallel to that. And let's say, give me this side is congruent to that side. That's all they give me. Notice they've only given me one piece, one pair of corresponding pieces. Well, in this case, I can get two free pieces. First one we just got done doing right above, vertical angle theorem. That's one piece. And now, like I'm saying, if I have parallel lines cut by a transversal, Okay, here's my transversal. Then I have alternate interior angles are equal. Right there. So now why are those two triangles congruent? ASA. So in that case, I got two free pieces, vertical angle theorem and alternate interior angles theorem. Okay, so those are the three free pieces that you need to be able to recognize right away. So whenever you're given two triangles, pairs of triangles, and ask if they're congruent, you're immediately looking for your free pieces. Do I have one of these three free pieces to be able to add into my triangles myself? Do that first and mark it in your triangle. Then you go ahead and see if you've got one of the 5 ways of proving triangles congruent. All right, that'll go ahead and end this video.